Hi, Verbling. My name is Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and today we're talking about the passive voice for this hour. So let's jump in. Miriam, welcome to class.
Thank you. How are you? Good afternoon.
I'm doing pretty well. I had to put my sweater on because it's a little chilly here. I'm kind of excited about the change in weather.
Yes, here in Kansas we have a bunch of humid and rainy air condition. Yeah.
Are you
Little
enjoying the
cloudy.
change?
Yes. I just bought a puffy boot to prepare myself for upcoming event, but let's see how it's go. But I feel like I made a mistake because I feel like I need more normal shoes than the puffy boot. So let's see how it goes.
Awesome. Thanks, Miriam. And Ksenia, welcome to class.
Hello.
Good to have you with us. What is the weather changing into for you? And do you like it?
No, I don't, because I haven't seen the sun for almost 2 weeks, I think, because it's cloudy with rain.
So you don't like the rain?
No, I don't like it because I wake up and turn on the light. So I keep my light on all day long. Yes, it's kind of
Big energy bill.
Yes, and I feel tired after that.
Yeah, for me too. If it's dark outside, I'm like, oh, it's sleep time.
Yes.
All right. Mustafa, how about you? Do you like the change in weather happening right now or not so much?
Slightly change here. You know what? Like here in my city, like it's pretty much like all the season might be summer because it's hot weather, and right now it's like we have rain at times, and some cities like we have or this region, by the way, especially there are flooding, you know, so heavy rain and flooding in summer. Yeah, fortunately we don't have flooding here in my city,
Oh,
and
good.
but yeah, but rain is it's gonna come. Like maybe next days we will witness like raining. Yeah. So I don't like changing weather, especially to winter, because I don't like winter.
You don't like winter?
I don't like winter.
Why?
Cold, it's pretty cold, and I am sensitive to cold. That's my nature.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Gregor, how about you? Do you like the change in weather or is it not your favorite time?
Changing the weather. Um, Actually, I like changing the weather. I come from Poland, so we have 4 seasons, and now I'm in the UK, so it is all the way fall by all the year. So it's not for me, really.
Here in Arizona, we have all 4 seasons, but spring and autumn are really just kind of like short transitional periods, or at least that's how I think of them. I don't think of them as like, 2 months or 3 months. I think of them as like maybe a month. And right now we're in that really cool transitional period. I love autumn because the food changes and it's new. I think I really enjoy things when they're new. For like a month or maybe a month and a half, I'm like, I love to be cold. This is so nice. And then I get a little tired of it and I'm like, the sun sets too early and it rises too late and I'm cold all the time and I'll start to complain. I will. But until now, I'm good. I'm happy. Okay, so let's get into our topic. We're talking about passive voice. And to start with, let's talk about the reasons we would use passive voice. I'm sure you guys already know a few of them. Gregor, why do you think we might choose to use passive voice instead of active voice?
One of the reasons is, for example, when we don't want to point out that someone did it. So we can say the car was broken, and we don't actually have to point out to anybody if somebody was involved in it.
Yeah, like if it's a secret and you're like, ooh, I don't want to blame that person, you might avoid saying who was the one who did the action. That's a really good reason. Ksenia, can you think of another reason?
Maybe we don't know the object, but we want to say about action.
Yeah, so if we don't know who did it, or it's like a mystery or something, then we might use passive voice. Excellent. Miriam? Miriam.
Well, I would say the same thing, but sometimes is sound like more polite way of talking. I mean, in academic talking and speaking, they often use the passive voice in writing paper, conference, and those things. But honestly, in casual speaking, I barely recognize the use of passive voice. I don't know, maybe I'm not familiar very well with that, but I feel like I found it difficult to pick up the passive voice in the daily life of it, speaking. I don't know.
I agree. I think it's definitely more formal, and you'll see it more frequently written down than you will speaking. If you do see it, a common place to see it would be like on the news, where they are more formal, even though it's pretty common generally, but it's definitely more formal than informal. That's totally true. Mustafa, any other situations you think we might be able to use the passive voice in, or reasons you think that it would be helpful to use?
Nothing at the top of my head, just maybe I think you've mentioned like maybe writing more than speaking we use it. So it might be like maybe writing, I know, like when you switch the object with the subject. So this is my nutshell, in a nutshell idea about it.
Yes, excellent, totally. The only thing that I think we didn't really talk about is if you just want to call attention, you want to emphasize the object rather than the subject. So we mentioned if we don't know the subject, or if we know the subject but we want to keep it hidden. But then there's also a situation where we know the subject, it's not a secret, but we just want to call attention to the object instead. Like maybe it's not important who did it. Maybe the object is the more important part of the sentence. So you'll switch it around to show that you put the object there because it's more important than the subject, which is usually not the case in a sentence. And Ken, welcome to class.
Yes, hello again.
All right, Ken. Tell us anything you know about the passive voice before we go on to something else.
Passive voice. I took some academic writing class, and teacher says in academic writing, passive voice should be avoided because subject is unclear. Is it true?
I wouldn't say in all academic writing. Was it for a specific topic or something?
Not academic writing in general, because that class is for any department.
Well, I mean, if it's an opinion piece, I guess, like if you're writing an essay, no, I don't know. I think it's pretty common to use in academic writing. In fact, we were just talking about that because it's pretty formal, so it does get used a lot in science and things, just academic writing in general. It does get used a lot. So maybe that the teacher had a specific idea in mind, like maybe there is another detail. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's pretty common to use and very useful as well. If you don't know, like for instance, you could say the building was founded in such and such date, or the study took place in wherever, instead of saying the scientist conducted the study. It's not important who, it's just important what. So it's pretty common.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments before you go?
Well, I would say talking in the use of passive voice in speaking for non-native sounds more difficult than native, because at the same time you have to concentrate on your grammar, whether you want to talk in passive or non-passive, and concentrate on the grammar, choose of objects and those things. That's why I feel like for non-natives, that sounds a little bit difficult to find out exactly when they have to, you know, switch on the passive voice, or you know, I don't know. I found it for myself is a little bit difficult, because speaking is at the moment, but writing, you have a time to think, as a, you know, jot it down those words, so there is a time to like make a decision, this is a passive or non-passive, or those things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I think you're right. And the more we practice, the easier or more fluidly it will come. But yeah, it can be tough to squeeze into our speech if you're like really thinking hard about how to make it. That's why it really is it's useful. It's very useful if you're super confident in it. And if you're not really sure how it goes, then it would be something you might want to avoid, because you'll have to pause and kind of be like, what was it again? But we'll work on it. Okay. I'm going to screen share the document, but one last thing before I do, let's talk about all the tenses in English. So let's just start naming some of them. Mustafa, give us a few tenses in English.
How many you want?
What?
Okay. I said how many you want, but past
As many
simple.
as you can think of.
Yeah, past simple, past perfect. We have.
Past simple, past perfect. What other past tenses do we have, Miriam?
I think is we have a past continuous tense. Yeah, like I was working. Yeah, but past continuous, past continuous perfect, if I'm not mistaken. Have been said, has been said. Yeah, and future. Yeah, and a simple future. I can't remember the name, but I'm sure we have a three kind of future tense. One is a simple, one is I'm not sure about the another two.
You're right. We have a pattern here. Ksenia, can you think of any other future tenses?
Actually, we have 12 tenses, so it's future simple, future continuous, future perfect, and future perfect continuous.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So the only ones we haven't done are, well, pretty much are present. Gregor, can you give us the present tenses?
Present tenses. So present continuous. What else?
The simple present, right?
Yes, simple present. The easiest one.
And Ken, can you think of any other present tenses?
Present tense, present continuous, present perfect is also present tense. I'm not sure. Okay. Present perfect continuous. Present perfect continuous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have pretty much all of them, and I'm going to put them in the chat box for you guys. But you guys have it pretty well down. It's like we've got three main categories: present, past, and future. And then within that, we have simple for all of them. We've got continuous for all of them. We've got perfect for all of them. And we've got perfect continuous for all of them. So 4 columns, 3 rows, and that makes 12. And of course, there's lots of other things that we can do with verbs, but these are like all the basic tenses. So let's get going. We're going to talk about all of those, hopefully, with the passive, because they're all a little bit different. Let's get started. We already did that one, so we're just going to start with the very basic one. I should make this a little bigger, I think. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So, active voice. Active voice is when it's our standard sentence where we use the subject and a verb and an object, and that's all in the present simple tense. But how can we make that into the passive? Where are my examples for this? Oh, The formatting is messed up. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I'm going to open... I'm going to open my other copy of this. Because the formatting is messed up in this one. Okay. No, the formatting is messed up in this one too. Alright, well, we'll just deal with it. So, active voice, we have he bakes a cake, he does not sing a song, and does he fly a plane? And this represents the three different kinds of sentences we can have. Just a positive statement, a negative statement, and an interrogative question. So let's make these into the passive. And how about Adam? Welcome to class.
Hello.
Good to have you with us, Adam. Do you know the basics of passive voice already?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so why don't you explain for us, in a simple present tense sentence, how would we change it from active to passive?
Well, for the tenses, I'm not really good at them to remember them. But I say like a cake, baked by him.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
A cake is baked by him. Excellent. Weird font. I'm going to delete that. Okay, that's a little bit better. Thank you, Adam. So he did a really good job of changing the first one, and let's have someone else explain exactly what it was that he did. Ken, would you mind explaining for us what it was that he did?
He bakes a cake.
Yeah, so what did he do in order to arrive at that?
Oh, sorry?
What's the formula for arriving at that sentence? So you both did it right,
okay.
but what is it that you did?
For making passive, you mean?
Yeah, how do you go from active to passive? For someone who doesn't know how to do it, explain the change.
Object change to subject, and be verb, and past participle, and by, and subject change to object.
Yeah, so the object gets brought to the beginning of the sentence. The subject, if you choose to include it, will be at the end, connected by the preposition by. And we're going to use the verb to be before the main verb, bake, made into a simple past or an adjective form, really, baked. Now, the most common mistake I see as we go on, you guys should pay attention to this, is that people will use the verb to be wrong. Like, a lot of people would sometimes use was. People will say a cake was baked by him. But we want to try and keep it in the same tense, so definitely keep it present to present. So you're going to conjugate the verb to be in whatever tense we're working with at that moment. Any questions? That's pretty easy, right? You guys have all seen this, I think.
Yes.
Cool. Then let's keep going. We're going to demolish these and get on to the next few. Gregor, will you do the negative sentence for us? He does not sing a song.
Yes. The song isn't sung by him.
Yes, the song isn't sung by him. Thanks. Ksenia, do the question for us.
Is a plane flown by him?
Yes. Thank you. So the other thing that can be tricky about this is you have to know all of those participles, those participle verbs. And because they're very irregular, it can be hard to remember them, but you guys have been doing really well so far. Hopefully that will continue. Let's go down. And we're going to try the present continuous tense. How about Miriam? Will you do the first one? I'm writing a letter.
A letter is being written by me.
Perfect. Thank you. Mustafa, the negative sentence.
Okay. A game. Okay, I'm not playing a game. Okay. Okay, a game isn't being playing by me.
Yes, the game isn't being played by me. Excellent. Thanks, Mustafa. Ken, we're back to you for the question form. Ken, are you there?
Sorry, I forgot to mute. Is homework done by done by me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know it makes a crazy sentence. No one would ever say that, but that's the right formula.
That because the teacher recommend passive and active voice. Maybe this kind of sometimes passive voice confuses the reader.
Yes, exactly. Passive voice
see.
can be confusing, and especially with simple sentences like this, it's not very common to see. It's not very common to see in the first person either, right? Because usually, you're not going to ask yourself a question at all usually, but if you're going to, probably not one like this.
Mhm.
So these are examples, even though they're not all going to be super common. But yeah, it can confuse the reader sometimes. And maybe that is why your teacher mentioned it. Okay. So these ones
Sorry, I have a question with question. Can say without being, and should we say is homework being done by me?
Yeah, is homework being done by me?
Being done. Okay.
Yeah. And that's actually interesting too, because we're not conjugating it for the subject anymore. We're conjugating it for something we don't even know about yet. Is homework, so it's for homework instead of the person who's doing it. Any other questions or comments here? Okay. So let's try the simple past tense. And we'll keep going. Gregor, do number 1. The I killed a snake into passive voice.
The snake was killed.
Definitely. The snake was killed. And you can add the subject, although you don't need to. So that sentence is good by itself.
Yes.
Ksenia, will you do the next one, the negative one?
A snake wasn't killed by me.
And Miriam, the last one?
Where a snake, where a snake is killed? No, killed. Where or was a snake killed?
Yeah, perfect. So you can say, was a snake killed, or was a snake killed by me? Those are both great. Excellent job. Thank you very much. Going on to the next one. It's getting a little more difficult now. These are getting more complex tenses. We're going to do the past continuous. And Mustafa, will you do them all for us? You think you can do it, Mustafa?
Yeah, why not? I'll give it a shot.
Great.
Okay. So past continuous tense, past voice was being, was or be. Okay. He was driving a car, and a car was being driven by him.
Was being drived?
By him.
So that's excellent, an excellent sentence, but the past participle is not drived with an ed.
Driven, yeah.
So
Yes,
drove would be the simple past. How would you spell the
Driven.
past participle though?
Driven, like Droven.
No O. So it's drive, drove, and does anyone know that? Driven with an I. Very
Driven.
irregular, that one. The rest of the sentence was fine. So it's drive, drove, driven.
Driven.
Okay, go ahead and finish up.
Oh, all of them?
Yeah, do the negative sentence as well as the question.
He was not driving a car. Okay. A car was not driven by him. Was he driving a car? Oh my goodness. A car. Oh. Was the car being driving by? Oh, was the car being driven by him?
Thank you very much, Mustafa. All right, down to present perfect. A little bit more difficult, and I'm going to delete these and ask Ken to do them for us. Ken, will you change all of these into the passive form?
Okay. Her work has finished. Her work has finished by her. By her. Or has been
Good start.
finished.
There we go. Has been finished.
Has been finished by her. Her work has not been finished by her. Her work. Has her work been finished by her?
Has her work been finished by her? Excellent. Do you guys have any questions on those last two? On the last two sets that I had them do all of? It's getting more complex, so if you guys have questions, voice up.
I was wondering, in terms of the use of those tenses, for example, the present perfect tense, these are popular in regular speaking?
Yes, I would say, like we mentioned earlier, casual everyday speech doesn't always include a lot of the passive voice, but I would say if I were talking to my mom and I were trying to hide the culprit of something, like someone did something bad, I might say like, well, someone has finished all the Pop-Tarts, so all the Pop-Tarts have been finished, and I want more, Mom. But I'm not going to say who ate all the Pop-Tarts. I'm going to say the Pop-Tarts have been finished. So it's possible, very possible to use in everyday speech. Not the most common thing, but it's pretty common. Any other questions on these last two sets? We kind of sped through them because it seems like you guys are doing really well, and if you guys do need a little more clarification, definitely ask. Nothing else? Cool. Then we're going to go on to the present perfect tense. Wait a second. We just did the present perfect tense. We're going to go on to the past perfect tense, and this time I'm going to ask Gregor to do those three sentences.
Okay. The assignment had been completed by them. The assignment hadn't been completed by them. Had the assignment been completed by them?
Awesome. Well done, Gregor. Thank you. Any questions on that set? No? Okay. Then the future simple tense in the passive voice. Ksenia, will you do these for us?
A car will be bought by her. A car won't be bought by her. Will a car be bought by her?
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ksenia. And let's get those out of the way. Okay, the last set we have here, future perfect tense. Miriam, will you do that one for us?
Yes. The job will have been started. The job will have not been started. Will the job have been started?
Awesome. Okay, guys, last chance for questions on any of those short sentence examples we did. Does anyone want more practice with these? We're gonna continue on, and we're gonna do a little bit of focus on questions, because questions can be a little more tricky. It already requires a rearrangement of the sentence in addition to it being in the passive. And then after that, we're going to do a trading assignment where you guys are going to make up some complex sentences, and then we're going to look at them and how we would make them into the passive. Okay. So let's do a few of these questions. I think you guys will find this really simple. Basically, we're just going to make a statement into a passive question. Paper is made from wood. That's a passive statement. We're just going to ask, is paper made from wood? It's super simple. It just gets to the point because the questions are a little harder. So let's each do one of these and then we'll move on. Mustafa, start first with B.
So there's like an exchange between them, like form a question from passive sentence or from active sentence, right?
Yeah, so this is just a passive sentence. We're going to make a passive question.
Active question.
No,
B.
a passive question.
The telephone was invented by Mr. Bell. Okay. The telephone was invented by Mr. Bell. Yeah, Mr. Bell invited the telephone.
Okay, so what did you make it into there? You made it into an active sentence, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, awesome. And what if you wanted to make it into an active question?
Okay. Is the telephone oh my goodness. Okay, was the telephone invited by Mr. Bell?
Yeah, so that's a really good passive question. So from that one sentence, you've made an active sentence and a passive question. What about an active question from that?
An active question from that?
Yeah.
So
the active sentence you had was Mr. Bell invented the telephone. How would we make that sentence into a question?
Was the telephone invited by Mr. Bell?
So that would still be passive.
Oh my goodness, I confused.
I know, yeah, it's super confusing and it's kind of a mind game because we have so many different forms with all the same kind of basic words. We just have to rearrange them. But you did really well. So you created the active sentence as well as the passive question. Now, Ken, do you think you could make this sentence into an active question?
Mr. Bell?
Yeah, so he gave us the active sentence, Mr. Bell invented the telephone, as well as the passive question, was the telephone invented by Mr. Bell? How can we make this sentence into an active question?
Did Mr. Bell invent telephone?
Yes, did Mr. Bell invent the telephone? So in this case, we're going to use a different kind of auxiliary, which is the trick to that. Thank you very much, Ken.
Sorry, teacher, it's really tricky. Like when you use do and does or did. In this
totally,
situation.
yeah, super tricky. Thanks for helping us, guys. Gregor, you're up next. Do C and give us as many forms as you can. So here we have a passive statement. So you can give us the active statement, the active question, or the passive question. Any or all of those would be great.
So, was the picture painted by Peter? Is the picture painted by Peter? Did Peter paint the picture? Paint this picture, sorry. What else? Did Peter paint this picture, for example?
Okay. Yeah, so we've got, did Peter paint this picture, the active question. Peter painted this picture, the active statement, or was this picture painted by Peter, as the passive question. That's all three of them. Thank you very much. Ksenia, do you think you can do all three for D?
Yes, the thieves will be arrested by the police. It's passive future. Active future, the police will arrest the thieves. Active question, Uh, will the police arrest the thieves? And passive by whom will whom will the police arrested?
So you gave us all three, and then what was the last one? Because you gave us all three already. What was the last one you tried to do?
Passive question.
So the passive question would be, will the thieves be arrested by the police?
Will the thieves be arrested by the police?
Yep, excellent. Thanks very much. And Miriam, will you do E for us? Try and give us all three.
Yes. Is a champagne made in France? Does France make champagne at all? And one more.
So the only thing you didn't give us was the statement, the active statement.
France makes France makes champagne. Does France make champagne?
Yeah. All right. You gave us all three. Excellent. Thank you very much. So do you guys have any other questions on this? Do you want more? We could do the last three, but I think you guys get it. Great.
I have a question. For example, can I ask, does champagne come from France? I mean, change the verb.
Yeah, you could change the verb, and that would make it an active. Let's see.
In terms of the being active, having an active voice, for example, I say, does champagne come from France, rather than saying, does France make champagne?
Yes, yes. That's an easy switch.
Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions on this exercise? Does anyone want to do the last three? Do you guys feel like maybe you need more practice with this? All right. Well, then we'll move on. And if you guys want to do these on your own time, you're very welcome to send them to me and say, hey, did I do this right? Or you guys can do them for homework later on as a little extra practice to remind yourself. Because it's a really good brain game. It's hard to keep all of those things straight in your head. And it's a really good exercise. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to trick each other. So I want each of you guys to come up with two sentences that are in the, one is in the active and one is in the passive, and you guys are going to have to switch them with another student, and that student is going to change your active sentence to passive and your passive sentence to active. And when you guys are making these sentences, I want you to focus on coming up with tricky elements. So don't give really easy sentences that are going to be like super simple to change. Try to make them difficult. And the ways that you can make them difficult are by changing the person. So maybe making it a plural subject instead of a singular subject, or singular instead of plural. We need a lot of diversity there. So if everyone says he, it's not going to work very well. You can also work on adding in other elements like prepositional phrases. Add some prepositional phrases onto the end. That way the person has to really think about reorganizing those prepositional phrases and where will they go and how will they fit in. Also, make sure your tenses, you're trying out different tenses. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all. Maybe use creative verbs that are irregular. That's another way to trick people. And Miriam, when you say share the link, what do you mean?
In terms of this Word file, so would you mind share it to us so we can review? I mean, is it possible to review all the exercise again?
Of course, it's already on the class page. So the page where you joined class, where you click the green button to join class, you should see a link below that's in blue, and that's how you can access this class material. So go look, and if you can't find it or if it's not working for any reason, let me know, and I'll definitely reattach it or find another way to get it to you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys 2 or 3 minutes to come up with your sentences. And again, you're going to make one passive sentence and one active sentence. And then we're going to switch with another student, and everyone is going to change your passive to active and your active to passive. Another thing you can do to make things trickier is make one a question, one a negative statement, or a positive statement. So play around with all the different elements of these sentences so that they're very tricky to undo. The only thing you have to be careful of, and you have to be very careful of this, you have to make a sentence that is able to go from active to passive and passive to active. So for instance, if your sentence has no object, it's not going to be possible to put it in the passive, right? So it has to have an object. That's the only requirement here, is that it has to be able to go from one to the other. If there is no object, then it's not possible to do. All right. Do you guys have any questions before I set you free to write your sentences?
Well, I have a question regarding the use of the God in, voice of passive. For example, when I say I've got bullied, I mean, sometimes I'm confused. It sounds because like it should be gotten. I've gotten bullied. But what I hear from the daily folk speaking is I've got stuck, I've got bullied, I got upset. But they don't use it gotten, get, got, gotten. So I'm a little bit confused about the use of gotten in American language.
So sometimes it depends on region as well. I know there's differences between British English and American English here. I think Americans tend to use gotten more than got if you're talking about the participle form, just the participle form. Because, of course, both of us use the simple past got pretty much equally. But in American English, I might say, I've gotten, I don't know, I've gotten 3 exams back. And in British English, you might just say, I've got 3 exams back. So there is an option, and it can change a lot. That's why it's a little tricky for me to give you. I can't give you like a 100% rule, like this is when you use one and this is when you use another. But to be honest, it won't matter too much. So maybe while you're making your sentences, come up with a couple sentences that use got or gotten, and we'll talk about whether they're okay the way they are or if they need to change.
All right, thank you.
All right, we got a couple sentences already. So Mustafa, your sentences are very good, but we're only doing 2 right now, and we're asking another student to change them. So let's see, you've given us the passive. You've given us the passive of a sentence in the statement, negative, and the question, right?
Right.
Awesome. Okay. So that's good, and we can have someone change them to the active. The only thing is there's a slight mistake. We're not going to use held in the past. If we don't use... Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
We need the verb to be. So will be... Wait, I'm sorry. Is that supposed to be an active or a passive sentence there? An active one?
Which one?
The first one. It should either be we will hold a meeting tomorrow.
We will hold a meeting tomorrow. So hold would be like hold, not held.
Right, exactly. We will hold a meeting tomorrow. A meeting will be held tomorrow. And will a meeting be held tomorrow? Okay. So let's have Miriam, will you do me a favor and change his sentences? The first one's active, so you're going to change it to the passive, keeping in mind that it should be hold, not held. And then the other two are passive, so you'll change them to active. Can you do that for us?
Yes, but I cannot find the Mustafa one.
Oh, I'll copy paste it into the Google chat. I'm looking at it in the Verbling chat, but I'll copy paste it. Okay, there you go.
All right. We will hold a meeting tomorrow. A meeting will be held tomorrow.
Uh-huh. Awesome.
Will a meeting be held tomorrow? Is that right? I'm right? I don't know.
So the thing he wrote was, will a meeting be held tomorrow? Now you need to change that.
A meeting will be held tomorrow.
Okay, so you've changed it from a question to a statement, but this one actually falls into the category when I told you guys earlier to be careful because not all sentences can be changed from one to the other. This is sort of what I was talking about. It can be kind of tricky because we don't know what the subject is. So it's hard to change this one from the passive to the active because we don't have a person to complete the action. A way you might be able to do it was to say, my boss will hold a meeting tomorrow. That's a possibility. So that way we're changing it, or will my boss hold a meeting tomorrow would change it from a passive question to an active question.
Yeah, but you know, teacher, like we can use we instead. Will we held? How will we held? Right?
But in the question, it doesn't say we. Will a meeting be held tomorrow? There's no subject there, so we can't change it unless we have a subject to use. So
Okay.
if you do want to use we like you did in the other ones, we could say, will we hold a meeting tomorrow? And that would be perfect as well.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay, cool. So let me go. I'm going to start with the Verbling chat. So I'm going to look for more in the Verbling chat, and then I'll go to the Google chat in a minute as well. Next set I have are from Ksenia. Actually, let me see if Miriam's sentences already. That would make this easier. Okay, I see one sentence from Miriam so far. Ksenia, will you mind changing Miriam's sentence?
And which one would you mind share the I've gotten stuck in some of my errands.
Mm-hmm. So is it passive or active?
It's active.
Uh-huh. So let's change it to the passive.
My errands have been gotten stuck by me.
Yeah, this one's tricky, isn't it?
Yes, some of my errands. I think we couldn't do it in passive actually.
This one's actually kind of interesting, and it's not something we've talked about before. I would change this to, my errands have gotten me stuck. Or maybe some of my errands have gotten me stuck. So this one is sort of weird because we are adding the object in without by, because we need it. We need it to say stuck. Yeah, this one's kind of a funny one because we need that object. We can't add it on with by. We need it to, it's necessary for the verb that we're using. So my errands have gotten me stuck would be a fine way to change that. Does that make sense?
And it's passive?
Passive, yeah. My errands, the object.
Without being.
Yes, my errands have gotten me stuck.
So not too much changes in terms of the structure. Is more about the subject, right? Subject location.
Oh, actually, you're right. You're right. Wait a second. Some of my errands. Yeah. This one's weird. This one's an odd one. So we don't have, in the way that I just did it, we don't have the verb to be, which means it's not a true passive. And if we add the verb to be in, it won't actually be a true passive. So my errands. Ooh, breaking my brain right now. Okay. My errands have been getting me there's no way to do it.
Alright.
Nope, yeah, this one's hard. No way to do this one. But yeah, part of the reason is because of the subject. So if we changed it, let's see if we can make this a different sentence and make it into the passive. If we said, my errands have been
difficult.
Yeah, you can even say, my errands have been getting something, have been getting difficult, or yeah. I guess that's a good way to do it. This one's tough. Have gotten stuck. Okay, yeah. So I guess we have our answer, because you were asking earlier if this would work. And it works in the present, but not in the passive. Sometimes these things are tricky. And it's actually not something I've thought too hard about, but that's an interesting point. I'm going to have to do some examples of these in my next class as well to remind students of that. Thank you, Miriam, for your very interesting sentence, and Ksenia for helping us try to figure that one out. Let's look
I made it so difficult and complicated. Sorry.
Hey, yeah, that was the exercise, though. I think that's great because it keeps it interesting and it helps us talk about what's possible and not possible, because especially in English, there are a lot of rules that get broken for one reason or another. So it's like you might say, oh, this is true, but it's not true 100% of the time. And it's good for us to talk about those situations so that you can all have the information before you go and try and make your own sentences. So that's exactly what keeps it interesting for us all. And I see Ksenia has some sentences already. I've been attending the Verbling classes for 1 year, and the teacher's leg was pulled by pupils. Gregor, would you mind changing her sentences?
Okay. Well, the classes have been attended by him for 1 year. Not sure.
You're pretty close. The only thing is it's progressive. You left out the progressive.
Yeah. Okay. The classes have attended by him for 1 year.
Okay, but you still don't have a progressive in there. Where's your progressive?
Okay, the classes I have been attending by him for 1 year.
You're close. Let's take a look back at any of these progressive ones. Okay, so this will work as well as anything. We have the verb to be plus being in that case. Even though it's going to sound a little funny once you change it, but go ahead and use being as well.
Okay, the classes were being.
Have been being.
Attending by him for 1 year.
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny sounding sentence, but it becomes the classes have been being attended for 1 year.
Wow.
By me. And Gregor, do the next one as well. The teacher's leg was pulled by students or pupils.
Okay. The pupils pull the teacher's leg.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, maybe. And the pupils pull legs of the teacher. I don't know. Could be.
Yes, that's perfect.
I think it's ideal. I think we can't separate like this, no? Pull one's leg, or we can put one's after leg. pulls like once. It's not their object action, just they take their leg and pull. It's joking.
Yeah, exactly. Good phrase. Thanks, Ksenia and Gregor. And I see some sentences from Gregor. He's got 2 sets. Will this laptop be available in the next week? And I have worked in the bakery since 2012, as well as he has done so many mistakes in his essays. And I'm going to change that last one. He has made so many mistakes in his essays. This is a make kind of situation, not a do kind of situation. Ken, will you change those sentences from active to passive and passive to active?
Okay, he has done so many mistakes in his many mistakes in his essay has been done by him.
Have been done by him, but yes. So it's plural mistakes. Awesome. And do one more. He's got another setup there. Will this laptop be available in the next week? Do that one.
Where is it?
It's also it's in the Google chat. I can copy and repaste it if you like.
This laptop be available. Okay, I got it. This laptop be available next week. The subject is laptop. How can I make it passive? Only one subject. No object.
Yes, exactly. That's the problem that we frequently encounter when we're doing this exercise, is there's not really a good way to make that into a passive because we don't have both a subject and an object. We just have one. Awesome. Go ahead and do the next one since we didn't do that one. I have worked in the bakery since 2012.
Okay. The bakery have been worked by me since 2012.
Yeah, it'll be has been worked in by me.
Worked in by me, okay.
Thank you. And Ken's sentences are in the Verbling chat box. Mustafa, do you see them?
Where?
Oh, I see them. Sorry, I see them in the Google chat box actually.
Bubbling chat is spelling is correct.
Okay. Do you see them, Mustafa?
Although I've been learning English for many years, I still make basic mistakes, right?
Yes.
Okay. I still make basic mistake. I still make basic mistake is the object. So. Oh my goodness! What? With although I've been learning English for many years, I still make mistakes. It's really hard for me. I will try. Oh my, I don't know. Although I've been learning English for many years, I still make basic mistake. I don't know, teacher. I'm confused. Can't confuse me. Oh, teacher is gone or what? She's not here. Anyone correct here?
English is subject, so English has been being learned by me for many years, and I still make. I think I still make basic mistakes like course, so I think we can put it in the ordinary role.
So English has been learned.
Being learned.
Being learned. Okay.
Yes, guys, I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, English has been learned.
Yes.
Has been learned.
And I still make basic mistakes. I think it stay in this role. Yes. So I think we are ready to go. Bye, guys.
Bye, and thanks for your production.
Bye.
Okay, bye.よいしょ